Rocket Top Insider instant reaction to Tennessee baseball's 7-2 win over Florida State in the College World Series semifinals. The Vols are headed to the College World Series finals here in Omaha. Now 3-0 so far in the 2024 College World Series. Ryan, another dominant, stress-free win for Tennessee today, and definitely different than the first time around against Florida State last Friday. Much different game. Xander Secrist excelled once again to lead Tennessee to this big win today.
Yeah, much different feel. Felt a lot more like the North Carolina game on Sunday night, and I guess I'll have to say credit to the man's booth who were standing here in front of John Wilkerson. I was talking to him after the game, and he said just the fourth time this year Florida State has scored 2 or less runs.
Wow.
Obviously, we knew how good the Florida State offense was as a whole. We knew how good they'd been all week in the College World Series. So for Xander Secrist to do what he did, and then obviously Kirby Connell and Nate Snead coming in and getting the final eight outs of the game out of the bullpen, just a really, really impressive performance from Tennessee's pitching staff.
Yeah, and that's been really the story of these last 2 games for Tennessee, really flexing their muscle in that way after Friday night was obviously a down night with A.J. Causey struggling and the offense having to carry then. But Tennessee wins in different ways. It's been the story all year. As good as this offense is, as historic as this offense is, as Blake Burke hit his 20th homer of the season today, now 5 Vols to have hit 20 long balls this season. That's an NCAA record. Never been done before. But Ryan, what's most important and what would be the biggest reason Tennessee's able to win it all, if they are going to, is winning in different ways, being a versatile team.
Yeah, and just the development, just with that, the development of the pitching staff over the course of the season. And even today, I mean, Blake Burke hits the home run in the 9th inning, solo home run, but the offense was not very home run dependent. Scored 3 runs in the 1st inning. Obviously, one of them capitalizing on a Florida State
Same
error.
colors.
Yeah, same colors.
Similar.
Yeah, you know,
Kinda.
generally.
Maroonish.
Yeah, maroonish. Garnet and maroon. But then, you know, the 2 of the other runs they scored over the course of the game, I guess it was the 2nd inning, I want to say, and then the 7th. Nobody on 2 outs. Christian Moore single. Advances the second on a balk. Blake Burke single to drive him in. And then in the one, again, later in the game, I think the 7th inning, Billy McDouble. Dylan Dreiling drives him in with a single. 2 outs, nobody on. So you see Tennessee kind of create runs, and you know so much this year as the offense has been explosive. Might be quiet parts, but one big inning's coming. And obviously, they did score 3 runs in the 1st inning. But today it just kind of felt like they kept on just kind of chipping away offensively and doing enough to build their lead, and where it never really got tight at any point where Tennessee was worried about Florida State making a run back.
Yeah, freshman righty for Florida State who started today, struggled significantly. John Abraham was the name, but you know they had a reliever come in later in the game, Joe Charles, who really settled the game, and you know Tennessee was shut down there for a bit. But Xander Secrist doing what he did today negated that. He shut down Florida State, and this is now, you know, really 4 of the last 5 outings. You could say every outing of the last month and a half, really, Xander Secrist has just been dynamite on the mound.
Yeah, the last 5 outings, going back to South Carolina, to conclude the regular season. I think, you know, I guess I'll start with my general thought on Xander today. 3rd inning gets into big jam, single, double to lead it off. So runners on 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. Tennessee gets out of that jam, kind of an uncharacteristic play. Chopper that goes over Xander's head, and Dean Curley cuts the runner off at home for out number 1. The runner kind of, I think he thought maybe Xander was going to get it, so it wasn't about a run home, so he kind of gets a slow jump. And then obviously the double play, Burke fields the chopper, touches the base, fires it over to Curley to get the tag in before the runner touches home plate. From there on, so those were the last 2 batters he retired in that inning. He retired, I believe, it was the next 7 after that to make it 9 straight at one point, and then I think it was a 2-out single, got the next guy out. So 8 of 10, whatever that would be, 9 of 10.
9 of 10?
Math guy, 9 of 10 at one point. So he was just really good, and where it kind of looked like it might be a little shaky for him, he pushed on. And then, you know, Xander long term, we were kind of joking up in the press boxes, like just what we all would have guessed before the year. Xander Secrist, a fantastic start in the College World Series for Tennessee. And it's like, who would have predicted that? And I think the thing that maybe stood out to me the most, which obviously that's true, but he did it today, and it didn't feel surprising. Like, that's how good he's been the last month. That him having this outing that would have been so surprising before the year didn't feel surprising at all today.
Well, that's why I posted on our podcast that was previewing, you know, the College World Series, is that if Tennessee did find themselves in an elimination game in Game 2 here, do you start Xander Secrist over Drew Beam? Because that's how Xander Secrist has been pitching. I think if you're Tennessee and you could pick one guy to start a game for you with it all on the line, it's Xander Secrist. And that could end up happening because I'm sure he'd be able to go Monday if it all came down to the very final game. But it really feels like he's the guy you want on the mound starting the game.
Yeah, and I would agree. Of the options they have, he's the one you have to have the most trust in right now. But I think it also kind of goes to something Link Jarrett for State head coach said post game when asked about the difference in the 22 Tennessee team and the 24 Tennessee team, and he talked about the way the pitching is constructed and kind of the one of the gist of his point is it's just like Tennessee has a bunch of different arms that they can throw at you this year. They can attack you in a bunch of different ways. They're not overly dependent on anybody, lefty, righty, different arm slots, some highly velo guys, a lot of guys that don't have overpowering stuff. And it just kind of feels like because of that, and some of the guys that have stepped up over the course of the season, it feels like Tennessee has a little bit more room for error maybe on the pitching staff that it really hasn't felt like that way most of the year. But you've seen different guys step up when guys have struggled, and certainly Xander, the way he's stepped up, has mitigated a lot of his concerns.
Yeah, you talk about Xander, who'd have thought this would happen for Xander Secrist. Well, I kind of want to talk about the same with Kirby Cannell, now appearing in all games here in Omaha, and he has become such a big bullpen arm for Tennessee, and this was a storyline early on, whereas Xander's been a little bit later in the season. But compared to what Kirby's been for Tennessee in the past 2 seasons, him to be able to do this year and to be so reliable in a big setting like Omaha in multiple games, he's been arguably one of the most valuable pitchers on this pitching staff.
Yeah, and he was the one guy that kind of glued a lot of it together earlier in the season, too, when Tennessee's pitching staff wasn't looking so hot, and he would maybe not be perfect, but could come in and eat a bunch of outs. And yeah, I know his outing on Friday against Florida State wasn't great, but North Carolina, and then again today, he was fantastic in both those outings. I think faced the minimum, I want to say, in both those outings or close to it. So he's pitching
scoreless regardless.
Scoreless regardless, yeah. He's pitching about as well as he has, it feels like, at any point in his Tennessee career, and especially this season. And it goes from being a guy of, Xander can come in and you feel like the wheels aren't going to completely fall off, or he can come in and face a lefty and get an out, to you kind of feel good about just handing him an inning and feeling like, not every time, but more times than not, he's going to put 0 up there.
I think a big thing about going 3-0 in Omaha is now Tennessee has 2 days off.
Again.
And everything's going to kind of reset going into that Saturday game. It feels like Tennessee will not have any problems pitching-wise. They'll be able to implement their regular weekend plan. They certainly await who they're going to face in the College World Series Finals. Could be A&M, who would also go 3-0. But you got to feel good if you're Tennessee right now.
Yeah, you do, for sure. I mean, Tennessee's just playing really, really well. And they've come here, and obviously a lot of drama in the first game, but they've just played good baseball. And they look like the team they have since early March, when they've looked like one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country. So hard not to feel really good where Tennessee's at. Obviously, Florida A&M game is going on down on the field right now. I'm sure from a Tennessee standpoint, whoever comes out of that side of bracket, they would like them to have to play a game tomorrow and use a little bit more pitching. And we'll see A&M's winning right now, so that wouldn't be the case if A&M doesn't win. So it'll be really interesting to see. And a week where you think of everything in Omaha, there being a lot of games. Well, 5 days since he's going to play one game, and Aaron Combs all of a sudden hasn't thrown since Friday. A lot of Tennessee's best bullpen arms, they haven't really had to use a whole lot. So it's definitely worked out favorably for Tennessee's pitching.
Think 73 is a big number?
Yeah, 73 seems like a pretty big number.
73 years since Tennessee baseball has competed for a national championship in baseball. And that's what they're going to do this weekend. First time since 1951.
Yep, lost 3-2, single game loss to Oklahoma in that one. So, it feels pretty crazy.
Who you got, 1951 Tennessee baseball versus 2024?
I'll take
Three-game series.
I'll take 2024 Tennessee. I think they take care of business.
Win number 58 for the Vols. That's a program record to propel them to the College World Series Finals. Tennessee gets it done 7-2 with another stress-free win. You have a final note, Ryan.
If Tennessee wins 2 and wins the national championship, they'd be the first ever SEC team to win 60 in a season.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It'd be pretty crazy. As good as SEC baseball is.
They just keep making history.
They just keep making history.
Like
and it's funny. I started covering the team in 2019, and it felt like there was all these either history or since thens, and it felt like after 22, it was like, all right,
that was the year.
It's past it now.
Right.
We're not going to have all these since, and there weren't a ton of them last year, but certainly this year, Tennessee keeps on adding to it, whether it be home runs, whether it be wins or whatever else. It's just crazy the skyrocket and the way this Tennessee program keeps trending upwards under Tony Vitello.
It's pretty funny that there's so much similarities for this team and that 22 team, and Link Jarrett stood in the way for this team, but Tennessee gets it done this time, as I mentioned. Now 3-0 in Omaha, 2 wins over Florida State, 7-2 today in Charles Schwab Field. For Ryan, I'm Jack. See you next time.